You didn't click on this video by random chance. You came here because something inside you is tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the kind that silence, clarity, and purpose begin to heal. Maybe today dragged you through doubt. Maybe the noise outside became too loud. Or maybe you're wondering how much longer you can keep pushing forward when the ground beneath you keeps shifting. And that's exactly where Marcus Aurelius stood too. Not metaphorically, literally. He ruled an empire that constantly threatened to fall apart. His days were filled with war, illness, betrayal, death, and yet he met them not with despair, but discipline. With words like these: if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That's not just poetic, it's practical. It means your experience of pain isn't fixed. It's filtered, and sometimes the heaviness you feel isn't because the day is too much, but because your expectations were too high or your self-talk too harsh. Marcus didn't escape his hard days. He walked through them, and he left behind a quiet trail of thoughts, not for others, but for himself. Personal notes, reflections, reminders. You're about to walk that same path now. In this video, you'll uncover 8 Stoic strategies drawn from Marcus's own reflections, each one designed to help you not just survive a difficult day, but grow through it. If that resonates with you, take a breath. Settle in, and if these lessons feel like something you want more of, feel free to subscribe. These aren't just videos. They're quiet companions for when life gets loud. Let's begin this reflection together. Number 1, begin each day by expecting difficulty. You wake up and reach for your phone, or maybe your thoughts. Before your feet even hit the ground, the weight of the day starts pressing on your chest. Obligations, deadlines, people, unknowns, and somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet frustration brews. Why can't things just go smoothly for once? This expectation, the belief that today should be easy, is what turns a bump into a breakdown, a delay into a disaster, a small criticism into a spiral, because deep down you expected calm, you expected fairness, you expected ease. But Marcus Aurelius didn't. In Meditations, he writes, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. Most people misread that line as pessimism, but it's not. It's preparation. By expecting reality to show up messy, Marcus armed its power to knock him over. It's like walking out into the rain with a coat. You don't get angry that it's wet. You're just ready. Why does this matter today? Because so much of your emotional fatigue doesn't come from the hard thing itself. It comes from your shock that it's happening. You feel blindsided, offended, but what if you weren't? What if, like a seasoned sailor, you expected the tide and prepared your sails? Metaphor. The river doesn't rage at the rocks in its path. It flows around them, always forward, always adapting. If you could expect friction without resenting it, what would change? Would you move through your morning with less frustration? Would you stop labeling normal difficulties as personal failures? Here's how you practice this. 1. Start each day with a pre-mortem. Before your day begins, mentally walk through what might go wrong. Not catastrophically, realistically. The meeting might be delayed. Someone might cancel. Your energy may dip around 3 p.m. This isn't negative, it's honest. And it gives you emotional armor. 2. Replace. Why is this happening with, of course it is. This is the Stoic's mental shift. When the car breaks down, of course. When someone is rude in traffic, of course. You stop feeding the event more energy than it deserves. 3. Anticipate flaws in people and still choose kindness. Marcus didn't stop at predicting negativity. He followed it with this. but I have seen the beauty of good, and I will not be harmed by their actions. I can't be angry at my neighbor if we share reason and the divine. You expect the world to stumble, but you also expect yourself to stay upright. That's the Stoic difference. Reflective question. What would today feel like if instead of hoping for perfection, you chose to meet reality on its terms and remained grounded anyway? You are not weak because things go wrong. You're human. But with this shift in mindset, you become something more: prepared, peaceful, stoic. Number 2, you are stronger than the situation. There's a moment, quiet but powerful, when you pause in the middle of a hard day and realize something simple yet almost unbelievable. I'm still here. The emails came, the pressure built, the plans crumbled, and yet you're still breathing, still standing, still trying, but you don't always feel strong. Sometimes you feel like the storm is bigger than you, like you're drowning in waves you can't name. And the mind begins to whisper, maybe I can't handle this. Maybe I'm not enough. Marcus Aurelius knew that voice too, and he wrote this: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is one of his most quoted lines, and yet people often read it too quickly. This wasn't just advice, it was a recalibration. He's not saying life won't hit you. He's saying the hit isn't what breaks you. It's your belief that you're helpless. Imagine this: a ship at sea, waves crash against it, thunder rumbles overhead, but beneath the surface, deep below, there is stillness. The chaos above doesn't touch the calm below. That's your mind. That's your inner fortress. And Marcus is reminding you, the surface may be stormy, but the core is untouchable. Metaphor: you are the mountain, not the weather. The storm can roar, but it cannot move the ground beneath your feet unless you let it. This insight matters today because we live in a world that constantly tries to convince you that your peace is dependent on everything going right. The schedule staying intact, people agreeing with you, the plan unfolding without error. But Stoicism flips that entirely. It says, what if your peace is actually most powerful when things go wrong? Think about that. It means a bad day doesn't have to be a bad you. It means discomfort doesn't have to become despair. Because in the Stoic worldview, strength is not loud. It's quiet. It's the ability to say, this is hard, and I'm still capable. So how do you apply this? Start by separating the event from your response. When something difficult happens, pause and ask, is this something I can control, or is this something I can handle? If you can control it, act. If you can't endure it with dignity. This is the Stoic two-step. Let's say someone says something cruel. The external event is the comment. The internal event is your story about it. Do you turn it into an insult or a moment to practice calm? Marcus reminds you that choice is always yours. Another powerful practice: visualize your resilience. When things get hard, don't just react. Visualize the part of you that is deeper than the fear. Imagine yourself as stone-rooted. Imagine yourself as water flowing. Imagine yourself as light undisturbed. Because how you see yourself shapes how you face everything. Reflective question: when was the last time you gave yourself credit, not for fixing everything, but simply for facing it with steadiness? Let's ground this in something real. You've had days before that felt like this one, and yet here you are. Not broken, not erased, maybe bruised, maybe tired, but wiser, more grounded. You are stronger than you remember, not because nothing hurts you, but because you keep choosing not to run. And that quietly, firmly, is what strength really is. Number 3, don't add a second arrow. There's a moment right after something bad happens where the mind quietly loads another arrow and aims it at you. The first arrow is real. The delay, the rejection, the mistake the unexpected news. It lands, and yes, it hurts. But then comes the second one. I'm so stupid. Why does this always happen to me? I can't handle this. Everything is ruined now. This second arrow. You fired it, and that's the one that does the most damage. Marcus Aurelius warned us against this mental spiral long before it had a name. He understood something many people still don't. Choose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been. He wasn't denying reality. He was teaching us to protect ourselves from ourselves. There's an ancient Buddhist idea that fits perfectly here. When pain hits, you're struck by the first arrow. That's life. But then you pick up another and drive it deeper by the way you think about it. That's suffering. Metaphor. A bird lands on a branch. The branch breaks, but the bird doesn't panic. It flies. Because its trust isn't in the branch, it's in its wings. Now imagine if the bird fell and then spent the rest of the day blaming itself, reliving the fall, or refusing to fly again. That's what the second arrow does. It keeps you grounded in pain long after the moment has passed. Why does this matter today? Because so many hard days are made worse by what we tell ourselves after the difficulty hits. You make a mistake at work, and instead of learning, you spiral into shame. Someone criticizes you, and instead of reflecting, you attack yourself internally. Plans fall apart, and instead of adjusting, you tell yourself you're a failure. The first arrow was unavoidable. The second one, that was a choice, often unconscious, but still yours. And if you can recognize it, you can stop it. How to put this Stoic insight into action? 1. You notice the gap. When something goes wrong, there's always a small pause between the event and your interpretation. In that gap, the second arrow is loaded or dropped. Start to catch that moment. You spill coffee on your shirt. You miss the train. Someone lets you down. Before your mind says, "This always happens." Pause, breathe, ask, what's the first arrow? And am I about to fire the second? Awareness is power. 2. Name it without shame. When you notice self-criticism rising, give it a name. That's the second arrow. Say it out loud if you need to. This gives you distance from the thought so it no longer owns you. Remember Marcus's words again. You always have the option to have no opinion. That includes opinions about your own suffering. 3. Shift from judgment to observation. A Stoic doesn't ignore their emotions, they observe them. So instead of saying, "I messed up," "I'm terrible, try." "I feel disappointed." That's okay, I'm allowed to feel this and learn. You're not pretending it didn't happen. You're just refusing to stab yourself with it. 4. Fly anyway. The bird doesn't quit flying because one branch snapped. You shouldn't quit living because one plan failed. What's your next small move? A breath, a walk, a reset, a kind word to yourself. Something forward no matter how tiny. That's the Stoic way. You don't need to pretend it didn't hurt. You just don't need to bleed longer than necessary. Reflective question, what second arrows have you been carrying today? And what would happen if, just for a moment, you let them fall? You are not weak for feeling pain, but you are free to stop hurting yourself more than life already has. That's not denial, that's wisdom, that's Marcus, and that's strength. Number 4, withdraw into yourself. When the world overwhelms you, there are days when everything around you feels like too much, too loud, too fast, too demanding. You try to keep up, you try to stay kind, you try to be on, but inside, something begins to crack. You find yourself reacting in ways you regret, snapping, withdrawing, shutting down, and then once again blaming yourself for not handling it better. Marcus Aurelius understood this feeling. Despite being emperor of Rome, commanding armies and managing endless crises, he wrote this quiet reminder to himself. People seek retreats for themselves, in the country, by the sea, in the mountains. But you yourself are your best retreat. enter your own mind. He didn't mean you should run away. He meant you should learn to return inward to that silent, steady space within you that no external chaos can touch. Metaphor: imagine the world like a stormy sea. If you try to live on the surface where every wave shakes you, you'll be tossed around endlessly. But if you can sink a little deeper, even for a moment, you'll discover the calm beneath. Why does this matter today? Because so much of modern life keeps you outside of yourself. Notifications, demands, arguments, distractions. And the longer you stay out there, the more your nervous system stays on alert, until your whole sense of self becomes reactive instead of rooted. That's when anxiety creeps in. That's when burnout shows up. That's when you feel disconnected from who you are and how you want to be. The Stoics, especially Marcus, recognized the urgency of returning to your center. Not occasionally, but daily. Sometimes moment by moment. So, how do you do it? How do you return to that inner place when the world feels too big? Let's walk through it. 1. Recognize the signs. Withdrawal isn't weakness, it's wisdom. But the first step is knowing when you need it. Ask yourself, do I feel like I'm performing, not living? Do I feel easily irritated, drained, or numb? Do I hear my own voice beneath the noise of others? If you don't know how you feel, that's a sign it's time to come home to yourself. 2. Create micro-retreats. You don't need a mountain cabin to find peace. You need 3 minutes, sometimes just 30 seconds. Try this practice Marcus would have loved. The still mind ritual. Sit still. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 6. Say internally, I am not the noise. I am the observer of the noise. Repeat this 3 times. Let each breath carry you further inward. Even in the middle of a crowded day at your desk, in your car, between conversations, you can do this. Marcus did it in battle camps. You can do it in a break room. 3. Reconnect with your inner compass. When life overwhelms you, decisions feel heavier. You start chasing urgency instead of following values. Return to this stoic anchor. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. You don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to fix every problem. You just need to act in alignment with who you are. That's your retreat. That's your power. 4. Make peace with stepping back. Sometimes people may not understand your silence. That's okay. You're not withdrawing from them. You're returning to you. You're not abandoning your duties. You're renewing your strength to face them well. Think of a candle that burns too long without rest. Eventually, the flame flickers. But when you protect the flame even briefly, it can light the whole room again. Reflective question. When was the last time you sat with yourself? Not to fix, not to plan, not to scroll, but just to be. There's nothing selfish about stillness. There's nothing weak about taking space. You are not a machine. You are a human soul meant to rise, meant to breathe, meant to return. And when the world feels too much, don't fight it, don't flee it. Just go inward, where no one can take your calm, where no storm can shake your core, where Marcus once sat and wrote his truth. Number 5, focus only on what you can do right now. You feel overwhelmed, not because the sky is falling, but because everything feels like it's falling at the same time. Deadlines are piling up. Conversations you haven't had are replaying in your mind. The future is foggy. And today feels like trying to run while dragging the weight of 10 tomorrows. But Marcus Aurelius, burdened with ruling an empire, facing plague war, betrayal, wrote something deeply grounding. Do not disturb yourself by imagining your whole life. Confine yourself to the present moment. He wasn't advocating for denial. He was protecting your energy. Because the truth is, you don't need to solve everything today. You just need to do the next thing well. Metaphor. A sculptor doesn't carve the entire statue in one swing. She chips away, one stroke at a time. If she focused on the whole block of marble, she'd freeze. But by focusing only on this line, this curve, this moment, the masterpiece takes form. You are sculpting your day, not all at once, one breath, one step, one choice at a time. Why does this matter today? Because modern life constantly pulls your mind in 5 directions at once. You're thinking about what already went wrong, worrying about what might go wrong, trying to plan what comes next, responding to everything around you, while forgetting to actually live in the moment you're in. This split attention isn't just exhausting, it's unsustainable. You weren't built to carry past, present, and future all at once. The Stoics knew this. So how do you live like Marcus did? 1. Identify the sphere of now. Ask yourself, what is within my control right now? What action, no matter how small, can I take in this moment? What is mine to carry, and what isn't? Maybe you can't fix the entire relationship, but you can choose patience in the next conversation. Maybe you can't complete the whole project, but you can send one important email. Maybe you can't stop your mind from worrying, but you can take a single breath and return to your body. That's where power lives, in presence. 2. Use the Stoic mantra, one thing at a time. Literally say it to yourself, out loud if needed. When your mind starts sprinting through a dozen problems, catch it. Gently say one thing at a time. This rewires your nervous system. It shifts your mindset from chaos to clarity. Remember, multitasking is often just multi-stressing. Marcus focused on justice, dignity, clarity. He didn't try to be everything for everyone. He simply asked, what is my role right now? Then he played that role, fully present. You can too. 3. Break the day into pieces. Hard days feel endless when you look at them as one giant heavy block. So divide it. Morning, focus only on what needs to be done before noon. Midday, focus only on the next task or conversation. Evening, focus only on winding down with peace. Chunking your day is not avoidance, it's precision. Even Marcus wrote in parts. He didn't write meditations in one sitting. He wrote it one reflection at a time. That's how you live a Stoic life, one intention at a time. 4. Anchor yourself with your breath. The breath is the most present thing you have. It's the only place your body can be without thinking. When your thoughts are racing forward or spiraling backward, return to this simple truth: I am breathing, I am here. This moment is enough. You don't need to figure out your future in the next 10 minutes. You just need to come back to now, and again, until now becomes your home, not your escape. Reflective question: what would happen if for just this hour you focused only on what's in front of you? Not everything, not forever, just this task, just this breath. Would your tension soften? Would your mind quiet? Would your strength return? You don't need to carry it all. You don't need to fix it all. You just need to be in the next moment, and then the next. That's how Marcus lived. That's how the Stoics endured storms. Not by conquering everything at once, but by mastering the present 1 second at a time. Number 6, use obstacles as fuel. You've been taught to see obstacles as interruptions, inconveniences, delays, as if they're detours blocking the real path you were meant to follow. But what if the Stoics had it right all along? What if the obstacle is the path? Marcus Aurelius didn't just endure setbacks. He studied them, welcomed them, even thanked them. He wrote one of the most iconic lines in Stoic thought: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That's not just philosophy, that's a lens. A way of seeing the hard thing as the necessary thing. A way of meeting difficulty not with despair, but with discipline. Metaphor: think of fire. When wind blows against a weak flame, it snuffs it out. but when it hits a strong fire, it feeds it. Your challenges aren't here to extinguish you. They're here to make your flame stronger. Why does this matter today? Because modern life conditions you to think comfort equals progress. You're told that growth should feel smooth, that your plans should work, that if something's hard, something's wrong. But Marcus faced war, death, political betrayal, illness. He didn't flinch, he framed it. Every obstacle became a sharpening stone. Every setback became a stepping stone. He didn't ask, why is this happening? He asked, what will this teach me? Let's take this Stoic principle and apply it right now. 1. Reframe the challenge. When something difficult happens, ask, what strength is this trying to bring out of me? What skill am I being invited to develop? Got stuck in traffic? You're being asked to practice patience. Received criticism. You're being trained in humility or clarity. Lost a deal? You're being reminded where your real value lies. This is the Stoic superpower. They don't personalize hardship, they weaponize it for growth. 2. Create an obstacle journal. Don't just reflect mentally, write it. Whenever something doesn't go your way, capture it on paper. Then write 3 things. What happened? What I can control? What I can learn? You'll start seeing a pattern. The worst moments became turning points. The doors that closed weren't punishments, they were redirections. Even Marcus wrote meditations during some of the hardest years of his life. That's no coincidence. 3. Train your mind like a muscle. The Stoics saw obstacles like weights in a gym. No resistance, no strength. So instead of hoping the weights disappear, they trained. They embraced the tension. When you feel resistance in your habits, in your routines, in your self-doubt, remind yourself, this is training. This is how I grow. You weren't meant to float through life untouched. You were meant to build endurance, to become stronger than the situation. Reflective question. What challenge in your life right now, if you stopped resisting, it could actually shape the strongest version of you? Look back. Haven't your most difficult seasons shaped your most powerful qualities? Your resilience didn't come from easy days. Your empathy came from being hurt. Your wisdom came from falling and rising again. The Stoics didn't want you to chase pain. They just wanted you to use it, to turn obstacles into inner fuel, to meet the world not with complaint, but with quiet power. So the next time something goes wrong, pause. Don't say this ruined everything. Say this is part of everything, because it is. You're not off track, you're being redirected, and the very thing you're fighting right now might just be the thing that reveals your next level of strength. Let it teach you, let it toughen you, let it become the way. Number 7. Remember, this will end too. When you're in the middle of something painful, time stretches. Seconds feel like minutes. Hours feel like days. The discomfort grows louder and the mind whispers something dangerous. It will always be like this. But that's not true. It never has been. Marcus Aurelius knew how easily the mind can be fooled by pain. He wrote, "Time is like a river of passing events, and strong is its current. No sooner is a thing brought to sight than it is swept by and another takes its place. Nothing stays, not joy, not sorrow, not confusion, not clarity. Everything moves, and so will this moment." Metaphor. Imagine standing in a cold rain. You're soaked, shivering, uncomfortable. But then you step back and remember it's just weather. And weather passes. It always has. The sun returns, the sky clears, and warmth follows. Your hard day is rain, not reality, not forever. Why does this matter today? Because in moments of struggle, the mind collapses the future into the present. You think, I'll never feel better. I can't fix this. This is who I am now. But the Stoics challenge that illusion. They remind you the storm you're in is moving, even if you can't feel it, just like no wave stays in one place. No pain does either. How do you apply this Stoic truth when you're drowning in the moment? 1. Time travel to perspective, not forward, backward. Ask yourself, what was something I once thought I'd never get through, but did? What felt permanent then, that now feels distant? You've already survived countless versions of this same emotion. You've outlived fear before. You've outlasted chaos before. This moment is not the end of the story. It's just another chapter. 2. Zoom out mentally and emotionally. Marcus often reminded himself of the vastness of time and space. He wrote, "Soon you will have forgotten all things, and all things will have forgotten you." At first, that may sound bleak, but it's freeing. It's a reminder that what feels massive now will shrink. That argument, that failure, that deadline, that rejection, it feels like everything right now. But in the grand scope of your life, it's a passing cloud. Even your most intense feelings are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. 3. Talk to the pain, don't become it. Say it. This hurts right now, but it won't hurt forever. This is hard, but I am not this hardship. By giving voice to the pain without becoming it, you create space. Space is where healing lives. Space is where clarity returns. Marcus didn't pretend to be unaffected. He just never allowed emotion to rule his reason. He met feelings with presence, not panic. You can too. 4. Create a ritual for endings. When something feels endless, give it structure. Light a candle, take a cold shower, go for a walk, and say to yourself, "This is how I mark the end of this feeling. I honor it, I let it go." You're not rushing healing, you're signaling closure. Even if the pain lingers, your relationship to it changes. That's what Stoicism is about, not numbing your emotions, leading them with intention. Reflective question. If you knew without a doubt that this moment would pass, how would you hold it differently? Would you tense up? Or would you soften? Would you resist it? Or would you breathe through it? Here's what you already know deep down. Nothing has ever stayed forever. Not your joy, not your loss, not your doubt, not your fear. Everything changes, and that includes you. So today, you breathe, you endure, you stay present with the pain, but not owned by it. And slowly, quietly, without asking your permission, this moment will pass. Just like all the others, let it. And let yourself flow with it, calm, rooted, and ready for the next light to come. Number 8. Live as if you've been given this day on purpose. There are days that feel like burdens, days you want to cancel, skip, or fast forward through. You wake up with a sigh, not a spark, and somewhere deep inside, you ask, what's the point of this day? Marcus Aurelius had an answer, not one that always felt good, but one that grounded him in truth. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. A privilege even when the world is heavy, even when your mood is low, even when nothing goes according to plan." That shift in perspective is what transformed Marcus from just a ruler into a philosopher-emperor. He didn't live like life owed him anything. He lived like he owed something to life. Metaphor. Imagine being handed a single blank canvas each morning. No matter how yesterday's painting looked, you start with new space, new colors, a new chance. Some days you create something vibrant. Other days it's messy, unfinished, but still it's yours to shape. That's today, a canvas. Not perfect, not permanent, but purposeful, if you choose to see it that way. Why does this matter now? Because when life feels repetitive, painful, or unremarkable, it's easy to fall into autopilot, to drift, to scroll, to just get through it. But the Stoics remind you each day is borrowed, not guaranteed. And if you let it pass without presence, it doesn't come back. Marcus didn't say this to scare you. He said it to wake you, to help you see this day matters. Because it exists, So how do you begin to live like this day was given to you on purpose? 1. Start with reverence, not resistance. When you open your eyes, what's your first thought? Is it dread, obligation, fatigue? Or could it be awe? Try this before checking your phone. Before thinking about the list, say quietly, I have this day. That's enough. It's not false positivity. It's philosophical humility. It's recognizing that life isn't a burden, it's a chance. 2. Ask, who do I want to be today? Not what you want to achieve, not what you want to control, but who you want to be. Patient, grounded, kind, focused. Marcus reminded himself constantly, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. This day is not about perfection, it's about integrity. Living aligned with your values, even in the small, unseen moments. 3. Choose one act of meaning. In the blur of modern life, we confuse busy with important. But what's one thing today that will leave you proud tonight? A deep conversation, a handwritten note, a walk without distractions, a task done with full presence. Pick one. Do it with your whole being. Let that act give your day its center. Even Marcus, surrounded by military decisions and political pressure, returned to writing, to stillness, to self-reflection. Meaning doesn't require applause. It requires attention. 4. Remember that this day is part of your legacy. It may seem small, ordinary, but all great lives are made up of small, ordinary days. Marcus didn't live in grand declarations. He lived in small, repeated disciplines, returning to reason, practicing virtue, keeping his temper, writing his thoughts, and centuries later, we still read his words, not because they were loud, but because they were honest. Reflective question: if someone could see only today, just this one day of your life, what would it teach them about who you are? You won't get this exact day again. It's a combination of challenges, conversations, sensations. It's unique. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be easy, but it can be lived with presence, with intention, with quiet courage. You don't need a sign from the universe. You don't need every condition to be ideal. You just need to act like this day was given to you on purpose, because it was. You've made it to the end of this reflection, but the truth is you've just arrived at the beginning, because everything we've explored was never about the ancient philosophy for its own sake. It was about you, today, right now. Marcus Aurelius lived nearly 2,000 years ago, yet he understood something that still echoes in our hearts. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength, not control over everything, not escape from difficulty, but strength from within. That's what Stoicism offers you, especially on the hardest days. And maybe that's the only truth you needed to hear. You were never meant to avoid struggle. You were meant to meet it and transform through it. Because when you expect life to challenge you, when you stay grounded in your values, when you stop firing second arrows, when you retreat inward for stillness, when you focus on what you can do now, when you use obstacles as fuel, when you remember this will pass, and when you treat today like a gift, you don't just survive the storm, you become the kind of soul the storm can't shake. Reflect for a moment. What part of today will you meet differently now? What part of you has quietly remembered its strength? If this video helped you see even one thing more clearly, I hope you'll carry that clarity forward. And if you'd like to walk this path with us, this path of quiet power, presence, and peace, feel free to subscribe. Not for me, but for you. Because some lessons are worth coming back to.